Okay, now we're going to assemble our lock rods, which with this assembly here, you'll notice we have two long lock rods. We have a T handle short T-bar, and then we have a handled T-bar. You have 8 Heim ends, and you have 2 rods that you will need to insert the Heim. Just screw them right on, just like so. So we have 2 rods with Heims hooked to it. You have your number 6 Allen wrench head bolts and 4 lock washers. When we put these onto the lock, we'll put the Heim in, the lock washer on the back side. You'll see it when I put it together. That keeps this away from the lock so that the Heim actually swivels, gives it room to swivel. The first thing we're going to want to do is take our eye bolt, put the nut on. Inside the cross arm is threaded, so you're just going to thread this in 3 or 4 turns, and then put the jam nut up beside it. Use a 9/16 and a screwdriver in so that you can keep it straight. Tighten it down, just like so. Now our lock rod will run through this. Next thing we'll do is take one of the long lock rods. There's a nut on each end. You will have to remove that nut to insert it through the eyelet. Put the nut back on. This is a jam nut for the Heim. Now we're going to put our Heim in on. About 2 turns. And then, as I was telling you earlier, we're going to take the bolt, the Allen wrench number 6 bolt, run it through, put a lock nut on the back side of it, and then you can see that our lock is already threaded, and this will insert right into here. And you can use a number 6 Allen wrench, or if you have a socket Allen, it's a lot quicker. Just like so. And at this point, leave this open because we're going to adjust it here in a minute. Okay, next we're going to insert our T-bar that runs from one end to the other. This is the T-bar without the handle is opposite of the power unit. The power unit is going to be on that end of the lift. This one is going to be on the opposite end of it. So we want to take off a coupler. And a nut. All the way through. You'll notice there is a spacer here. What that does is going to keep it spaced away. Now when you're inserting this in, underneath the track there is a tube that this rod must go through. So you'll want to make sure to look under that it goes into that tube, and we'll show you that in just a second. But push that into that point. Take off these bolts and nuts. And now we want to install our short lock rod. Put the bolt through, the lock nut on the lock washer on the back side, into the threaded lock hole. Now we're going to put our other Heim joint on. Now we're going to install the Heims to this T handle. So what I want this is setting, this is 12 o'clock. I want to be just past 12 o'clock on my adjustments on my linkage rod. And then I will take the bolt, goes through first, a flat washer on the back side for spacing, through the handle, another flat washer, and a nut. Like so, and then you'll do the same here. So right now, I'm way long, so I just want to screw this in. to where these will line up as well. Bolt, washer, through the handle, washer and nut. At this point you can tighten it up. This one is a 9/16 on the back side and your number 6. And then take your jam nuts with your 9/16 and go ahead and tighten those up. Just like that. And this side is done. You'll notice the long rod is on the top. The short rod is on the bottom. And this is setting just past 12 o'clock on the angle. And you'll be adjusted just right. Okay, we're done with the other side, opposite of the power unit. Now we're going to go to the power unit side. Put in our eye bolt. Screw this one in, 2 or 3 turns. Put the jam nut up to it. Like so. Take the nut off of the long lock rod. Put it back on. Put your Heim joint on. And we're going to attach the bolt through the Heim, lock washer through the threaded hole on the lock. Now we're going to attach the short rod, bolt, lock washer through the threaded hole on the lock. Now we have our handle that is near the power unit. The power unit is going to hang right off of this post here. So we want this handle to be near it. It's going to go through the hole. And then under the lift, once again, there is a tube that the rod has got to go through to make it be straight. We're going to take off these bolts that come on it already. Before we hook these pieces up, we have to connect this rod to the other rod at the end of the lift. And what we do that with you notice we had 2 short rods, so this will be in the middle to join the 2 rods together so that when I operate it from this end, that will operate that T-handle at the other end to open the locks all from one place. So we have to join this with those 2 rods, and the way we're going to do that is with a coupler that will screw onto here, and then this rod will screw onto the other end, and then there is a jam nut on both rods that will come up to jam it tight so that you're one single rod. Now you'll notice there's a tube about halfway down, just like this one here, that this rod's got to go through. So you'll fish it through there and then push it all the way through. And now we're going to hook up this rod to this rod using a coupler and the jam nut. Okay, so now what we've done is we've got both ends joined with a coupler and got a jam nut on both sides. All you want to do is just start the threads on it, and then we'll go down to the handle and actually turn it. since I have the off side of the power unit, the opposite end of the power unit hooked up to my locks, I'll be able to turn that handle and it'll thread itself in without having to do this all from underneath the lift. Okay, you can see that there's some slack in this handle. It moves back and forth. What we want to do is take that out, and what I was doing a minute ago is just turning that in, and that's going to take that slack out. You don't want to be tight. You want to get it to where there's just a little bit of movement, just like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is hook up the linkage to this lock handle, and what we're going to do is use a bolt again, number 6, run through the Heim, a washer, get this to where we're just past, almost to 12. As you see, this is not dead even 12, it's just coming on, 11:45-ish on the clock. And then you're going to put the flat washer and a nut. And then adjust this one to where it fits as well. Got the bolt, flat washer for spacing, washer, and nut. And at this point, you can go ahead and tighten these up. 9/16 and a number 6 Allen wrench. And then take your jam nuts. I'll come over here. Just tighten these jam nuts up to the Heims. So now we're going to tighten up the 2 jam nuts to the coupler. We're starting with the furthest away from the power unit. So we're going to start with this jam nut first, jam it up to it, then come over here, this one, and tighten it down. Making a solid piece. Now it's all joined together, so when I turn it at the handle, it's going to turn my lock rod at the other opposite end of the lift. Now I got to do this to the other coupler that's down here by the power unit, and we go in order, the farthest away from the power unit all the way to the power unit, and in order to tighten them.